In the previous video, we looked at how you can make decisions when there is uncertainty. What we want to look at in this video is how well you deal with uncertainty. So there are different decision-making styles depending on how well you deal with the unknown. So we have a directive style. This is the more action-oriented decision maker who is focused on the facts. An analytical style, which is a careful decision maker. A conceptual style, a decision maker who relies on intuition. And a behavioral style where you are more people-oriented in your decision making. So let's look at this on a graph here. So we can take these different decision-making styles and lay them out based on your tolerance of ambiguity, how well you deal with uncertainty. If you have a high tolerance for ambiguity, then that means you're willing to make decisions even if you don't have all of the information. So even if you don't have certainty, even if you don't even know the risks or probabilities. We also look then at value orientation when we classify the decision-making styles. So when you make decisions, are you more focused on people or are you more focused on task, process, data, and more technical concerns? So as we look at these different decision-making styles, we can see that the directive decision-making style has a low tolerance for ambiguity. They don't like uncertainty. We talked before about how managers, the role of the manager, going too fast. The role of the manager is to reduce that uncertainty. So that directive decision maker, the manager, doesn't like unknowns. They tend to be efficient, logical, practical, very systematic in their approach. So focused on process, focused on task. They want the information and they don't want a lot of ambiguity. In comparison, the analytical decision maker is okay with some ambiguity. They are more that they want to be able to look at probability. Okay, so they're a careful decision maker. So what's the likelihood that something might happen, even if it's not for certain? And then what are the possible outcomes of that? So again, task and technical oriented, but a higher level of tolerance for the unknown. When we look at those who have more of a tolerance for the unknown, if you are more focused on people, you could be a conceptual decision maker. So if you make your decisions based more on intuition, gut feeling, maybe you're a bigger risk taker, you're more creative in your decisions, you're okay with making decisions without all the facts. Okay. You're focused on the bigger picture in terms of the impact it has on the greater group. The last type of decision-making style we want to look at is the behavioral one here. They have a low tolerance for ambiguity, so they like to have all the information when they make decisions, and their focus really is on people. If you fall into this category of more behavioral decision-making style, you actually don't like making decisions. You would rather other people do. So really you're receptive to suggestions. You'd rather have someone else make the final decision. You also don't like conflict, and so avoid decision making because it might make one group angry or another. That behavioral group tends to defer to others when it comes to decision making. Well, these are based really on tolerance for ambiguity. How well do you deal with uncertainty? If you are working with us through the Pearson-Revel material, there is a survey here to assess your tolerance for ambiguity. So I encourage you, if you're working along with us through the material, to do that assessment of yourself, because otherwise you just get to look at assessments of me and why would you care, right? So we assess the tolerance of ambiguity so that we know how well we deal with uncertainty. And there are different types of uncertainty. So I'm just going to move my face because I'm covering up information here. So when we look at uncertainty, we can classify uncertainty in terms of novelty. The problems are new and different. We haven't dealt with them before. So how do you deal with new issues? Then we have complexity. So here the challenge is making a decision when there's lots of moving parts, lots of pieces. How well do you do with complex situations? And then how well do you deal with insolvability? How well do you deal with problems that may not actually have a solution? Are you one that just keeps working away at it? So in my office, I have a Rubik's Cube. I refuse to look up the solutions. It has been sitting on my desk for over a decade, just staring at me. It is the insolvable puzzle for me that I just, periodically just keep chipping away at it. But in terms of me and what I can deal with in terms of the unknowns, you'll notice the score here says I'm about average in terms of dealing with the unknown. And that I score higher with novelty and complexity than I do with insolvability. So coming up with new solutions and dealing with complex problems might be more my forte than those problems that don't have a solution. I really do like having solutions. But one of the challenges for a manager is recognizing that there's not one correct solution for every problem. And that can be very difficult for people, especially if you are more the accountant, finance kind of person, to deal with the fact that there's not one right answer.